Dana White sat down with Laura Sanko and said, quote, "We are out of the Cris Cyborg business." After Cris Cyborg got her win over Felicia Spencer at UFC 240, her contract is up, and now Dana White's saying we're completely done. We're going to waive that 3-month period, and Cyborg, you can go do your thing. So Kendrick, I mean, this is kind of crazy because you have one of the best female fighters on the planet now just out there as a free agent, and the UFC normally isn't in the business of letting high profile fighters walk.
Yeah, it doesn't make no sense business wise. It show you how little they think about the featherweight division, and basically it's a reflection on how they do business and Amanda Nunes.
100%. And it's Amanda Nunes. I mean, how many other fighters are in that featherweight division right now? 3. Felicia Spencer, her, Megan Anderson. I mean, it's not really a division. They don't even have rankings. That's how many fighters there are. Let's talk about this interview that Dana did. It wasn't really an interview per se with Laura Sanko. Laura Sanko does a great job, but this was a UFC in-house sit-down deal. So it was basically a public service announcement. Right? It's a public service announcement. Like, Laura's not going to challenge him on anything he says. It's basically throw some softballs out there and let him respond. And basically, so Dana can say what he wants to say. And some notes that I took away from that, obviously outside of we're out of the Cyborg business thing, is, for one, this was already something, we saw the writing on the wall immediately at UFC 240. We saw this immediately. When you see Dana taking pictures with Felicia Spencer backstage versus Cyborg having the serious talk with Dana, and I get the contracts are up, but like, how often do you see Dana posing with a losing fighter who just lost all 3 rounds convincingly? If ever. I mean, yeah, I know that he goes and visits the losing fighters and tells them, hey, that was a hell of a fight, all that good stuff like that. Great job, kid, whatever. But very rarely do you see him posing for pictures with the huge smile. And I think that was apparent from that moment that, hey, that we're going to go away from the Cris Cyborg thing. Other things that he was saying in that video, he said that the Vanderlei Silva in heels comment was taken out of context, and I don't see how that could be possible.
That's false. There's video evidence to prove that that's false.
Exactly. It's on video. I mean, and
he acts it out.
Exactly. I don't understand how this can be taken out of context. I get what he was saying, that it was part of a larger conversation when he was saying that he was talking about her being on steroids, and like, even if that's the case, you don't get up and parade around like this. You just don't do that.
But the thing about the steroids too with Cyborg is, yeah, she got caught, but she got caught outside of the UFC, so it wasn't enough for you not to sign her originally. That's what I don't get either. And she got popped to the UFC. It's a whole different narrative.
100%.
In fact, you stripped Jermaine around of me because she didn't want to fight her on principle, and you strip her. So it's like, but that's why I don't understand why people get up in arms. They're gonna make up stuff anyway. That's why I always say, is this a sport? Is it entertainment?
Of course, it's entertainment. Of course, it's entertainment. That was another key point, like you just mentioned, man. Like, how are you gonna strip Jermaine of the title, yet now you're defending her by saying that she didn't want to fight her on principle, but somehow she's in the clear now? It just doesn't make sense. And then you because of the steroid deal, like, okay, John Jones popped for steroids. Look where John Jones is
in the UFC.
With multiple chances. John Jones has multiple infractions. I mean, we just showed you the clip there of him making fun of her looking like Vanderlei Silva. And then, of course, you had the thing on the Rogan podcast where they were talking about her, like wondering how big her dick was or whatever it was. The fact remains, like, he never apologized for that. And that's something that Cyborg still has a lot of animosity towards him for. Rogan
adopt a kid.
What's
the
that?
Cyborg adopt a kid? She said her kid has to go.
Yeah, she adopted a daughter.
Okay, I know that.
And
but what I do know is I've dealt with her in the 3 biggest cities in America, almost. Well, 3 most happening cities. I've dealt with her in New York, in Vegas, and in LA. And like, you have this persona about her. She's completely the opposite in person. She's legitly nice, and I've seen her in multiple settings. I've seen her get ready to promote a fight. I seen her just doing the little media scrum that they just have because she came to watch the fight in Vegas, and I seen her at the ESPYs on the red carpet, and she's been chill all the time. It's like there's a persona about her that's completely false. She's legitly the opposite of what you think. Like, like I say, she's cooler because I hung out with her. Like she's a nicer person than say Ronda is. Like Ronda's a person you have to get to know her for her to be cool.
Mhm.
Cyborg's cool regardless, which is very you would expect that.
No, yeah, that's very accurate, very true. I mean, she's a sweetheart. You can go on her Instagram right now and see all the things that she's going to be doing. You know, she's been building these wells. She's going to be, you know, visiting kids and all this kind of stuff like that. Like she puts her
She don't have
time.
to fight. That's because she still has. She may not be from America, but she's smarter than Americans. I guarantee you, she got 10 to 12. The lady been rolling a Tesla like it's no big deal. Like she done well for herself. She's smarter than what people think.
Right, and so that ties into the next little point here, talking about her drawing power, because that's one thing a lot of people are pointing to in the wake of this, is that saying that she's not a big draw. Well,
So
okay,
what's
let's look at the numbers. She was given 2 UFC pay-per-views in her tenure in her UFC run. UFC 219 was the fight against Holly Holm. Okay, that was in 2017, December 30th, 2017. That fight did, or that, yeah, that pay-per-view did 380,000 buys. Her other one was
I
UFC.
never did even over 100,000,
What's that?
over 150. Because the man even did over 150.
I'll get to that in a second. UFC 222, Cyborg versus Kuniskaya on March 3rd, 2018, did 260,000. Now, I don't know what other fighter is going to do that. That's pretty good considering Kuniskaya was a UFC debut fighter and
Yeah,
nobody knew who she was. And that card was also relatively weak outside of Frankie Edgar, Brian Ortega, and the co-main. There was nothing else on that card. Same with Cyborg Home was a decent card. There were some good fights on there. You had Khabib on there. You had Edson Barbosa, some other names that, you know, people like to watch. But relatively weak pay-per-views, right? But the larger picture is that these fight cards, they didn't do, like, around this period of time. Like, this was, like, the numbers that they were drawing. And it's not a thing to where, like, oh, Cyborg isn't a draw. Well, no. Anybody outside of Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey is not going to draw massive amounts of numbers these days. John Jones, it barely breaks a million buys. Same with GSP, barely breaks a million buys. Even GSP is the golden child, right? You know, he's one of them next to Conor. Hardly breaks a million, like right around that million mark. And not to mention, we don't even see the pay-per-view numbers anymore now that they moved to ESPN Plus.
I still understand that. If you pay for the app, why I don't understand that at all. That's like the zone sitting there saying, "Oh, Canelo's fighting, you got to charge pay $50 this month. Oh, and then Joshua Ruiz too, you got to pay $65 for them to get this rematch, even though you already paid for the app." It doesn't make I don't get that at all.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And like, if you look at the pay-per-view buys, you know, when you talk about drawing power and who they're promoting, you have to go to the 11th highest pay-per-view before you find somebody that isn't blonde-haired and white. I'm serious. The top 10 pay-per-views have a McGregor, a Rousey, or a Lesnar in the title, in the headline. The next one, UFC 114, coincidentally, my first UFC pay-per-view I attended in person was Rampage versus Evans, and that was on the heels. That was on the heels of what a lot of people still consider the best tough season ever.
It was that Kimbo.
Exactly.
It worked, Nelson.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's what it's all about, man. It's who are they actually putting money behind? People like Cyborg don't fit the promotional narrative of the UFC historically.
Who does though? Besides the McGregor, who that's an active fighter? We're going and Connor's an actor. Who's an active fighter that they can really?
Connor's the only one. Holly Holm is the other only one, but she's not winning.
Yeah, she's not winning.
She's not winning. And to go back to your point, as I got to pull up on the screen here, Amanda Nunes' highest ranked pay-per-view in terms of pay-per-view buys was UFC 200. However,
that's count.
That does not count because that pay-per-view had, I don't know, I think the total was
that should be Misha. That's Misha more than her.
No, it's not even Misha. It's John Jones. And the other, I think, what was it, 8 or 9 current or former champions on that card? He was absolutely
John Jones wasn't. Oh, that's the week that we bet.
John Jones was on the card until 48 hours before.
Yeah, that's when he got popped.
People were buying the pay-per-view all throughout the week. John Jones drops out 2 days before. Anderson Silva was on that card. DC, Brock Lesnar. The card was absolutely stacked. So you can't point to UFC 200 as an quote-unquote Amanda Nunes card. Yeah, Nunes versus Rousey was 207. And that was,
Simmer.
That was 1.1. Again, that
That's
was a
all
Rousey
Ronda.
card. That's a Rousey card. especially considering Nunes wasn't even in the promotional build up to that fight.
Yeah.
So you cannot give that as a quote unquote Amanda Nunes card. So
Mm-mm.
the top ones, as you see right here, UFC 207, UFC 200. Let's go down to a real Amanda Nunes pay-per-view. UFC 224. No, UFC 215. Nunes versus Shevchenko 2. 100,000 buys.
I told you.
Yeah. So, listen, I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, it doesn't fit the narrative, um, so to speak, but fighters also have that responsibility, and that's a valid thing as well. They got to get out there, do their portion of the promotion. But when you are a Ronda Rousey, when you are a George St. Pierre, you're going to be placed in a lot of opportunities that you won't be, normally on your own, right?
Yeah,
They're
Ronda
going to put you on these talk shows.
Ronda was on Sports Center before ESPN. I mean, for UFC was on ESPN.
Right, they're going to give you all those opportunities. You're going to be on
They ain't
Ellen.
Sports Center for a day.
You're gonna show up on Ellen if you're on Ronda. If you're a Ronda
Yeah.
Rousey.
But she anchored Sports Center before they were even on
Yeah,
ESPN.
yeah.
Like
I know.
basically, she was a year ahead of the UFC. That's how bad she was.
Right, yeah. She was all over the place. All over the place. And I mean that's not indicative of skill. That's indicative of her fitting the mold that they want to promote.
But
That's the real
like
thing.
I said, not to have that. UFC. I'd be quick. They don't know what the f they doing. But Amanda does her no favor. There's no reason she should at least be on Ellen. No zero. If that's the only show she do, that's the show she needs to be doing.
Right. And another thing I want to touch on from that interview that Dana did, he kept saying that Cyborg didn't want the Nunes fight rematch. Yet here we are, immediately after her fight with Felicia Spencer. She's on the ESPN booth wearing a Cyborg versus Nunes 2 t-shirt. She wanted that fight. Like, you can't say otherwise. It's clearly right here, plain as day. Maybe y'all couldn't get the numbers right. I don't know what the promotion, like the negotiations were looking like. But hey, is she throwing us a smokescreen by wearing this t-shirt, saying that she wanted the rematch? Are you saying that Cyborg is scared to fight Amanda Nunes? I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Cyborg is a competitor, man.
Yeah.
She's a competitor.
Her ego's too big for that. Now that was if they fought in Brazil, they could probably do 500,000. I think, but
easily, but we would never know because it's on ESPN Plus behind that wall now. And here's the other thing. Dana said that he had, evidence that Cyborg's camp wanted to take a different fight, like with a Pam Sorensen and somebody else. What is so bad about wanting to take a tune-up fight, quote unquote tune-up fight in the UFC, after you just got knocked the hell out?
Brutally.
What's so bad about wanting to take
more
another
fighters
fight?
do that.
I know that's a very common thing in boxing, right?
Yeah, and it works. Keith Thurman should have took another one for Pacquiao. He beats him.
100%. I would be very interested if Dana would actually provide this intel to a reporter so that we can confirm this. But even if that was the case, I don't blame Cyborg if she wanted to get in a fight before running it back against Amanda Nunes. Maybe she wanted to work on some things. Maybe the fight with Spencer should have taken place before that.
But the thing though I don't understand is I show you how the UFC fan base is lacking common sense. I'm first team common sense though. How they let Dana say all this stuff or anybody representing the UFC and they let them say what and they never have no receipts. Never have no receipts. Well, he said it on Joe Rogan's podcast. What are receipts? They never have a receipt. I don't care if it's a fighter, a manager, a trainer. 9 times out of 10, there's no receipts. And then they just sit there, well, he said on Joe Rogan podcast. He said on UFC Unfiltered. Like, they need to stop all that craziness.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, man. Like this interview, like it's ratioed to hell on the likes and dislikes. Currently 3.2 thousand likes, 4.8 thousand dislikes. Obviously, it's not being received very well. And I misspoke again when I called it an interview again. It's not an interview. It's not what this is. There's something to the mishandling of the people of color champions out there, and then that ties into a point I made earlier about. That ties into the point about.
Who been saying that?
Oh, of course. But you got to look at the Demetrius Johnsons who just got a win over in one this morning.
That's a bad man.
Bad man indeed. And you look at Tyron Woodley; they couldn't wait to get the belt off of him. Now he's not even being mentioned in terms of a rematch, even though he's the most, one of the highest
he
ranked
got,
welterweights in the world, who had one of
he
the
got,
best
he got the
welterweight
best
title
resume.
runs.
Even though Kamaru's got the bill, he's got the best resume still.
Right, right,
Well, it's like
exactly.
what we're gonna do about that Robbie win? Those two Wonder Boys, that Carlos Condit win. We're gonna do about that.
Kelvin
That
Gastelum,
thing is shut out.
the Kelvin Gastelum just had one of the best fights ever. Yeah, man. Like, come on. They definitely mishandle these athletes, and the fact that Dana's out there saying that Amanda didn't want the rematch with Nunes. Well, that's very easy to say now that you have went out there and effectively taken all options of that rematch from happening by saying you're gone. It's very
I,
easy to say that now.
I think at the end of the day, the UFC doesn't really care about the African American market. That's what it boils down to. And I'm not like some people in our other sport that's called boxing, but I'm just putting the facts out there. I don't think they care about it. It's like they'll take it, but if it's not there, it's like we're no sweat. We got other people to worry about to get this money.
Right. And I get the UFC's been a for-profit business. Maybe the fact that, hey, Cyborg was getting paid too much for what she was giving you. Well, she only made 70 and 70 against Felicia Spencer, whereas she was making 500,000 when she had the title. Like, she wasn't being overpaid. Like, she just made 70. Cyborg got paid 70 and 70, dude, in her last fight. That's insane.
She might got some points though, don't she?
I
Or you have to
don't.
be a champion to get points. I thought once
I
you got
think you have to be a champion to get points or in the main event. If that's, I believe. There's different contractual things that happen. We never
certain
see
people
the.
didn't do no justice on that.
We actually never see the contract, so that's all speculation. It's all speculation.
I
Um,
bet Cyborg made close to a meal for real.
she's probably done pretty well financially. I would not doubt that. And people like to forget that they point to the stateside thing. Well, she's an international star, man. She's Brazilian. She has a very large fan base in
An
Brazil.
understatement. I've seen her at the ESPN ESPY Awards, and you got people from Aaron Rodgers to Mike Evans. Like that's Cyborg. Like they like more excited to see her than she is to see them. Like I've seen my own eyes. Like I knew she was a big deal, but I know she was that big a deal.
Right.
Like she was like if you all the athletes in the world were there, she'd have been in the top 10. And you had the other champions right there with her. At the time, it was Rose, who's lost the belt, was DC. He just became champ. Tyron was there. And Mighty Mouse wasn't there, but those were the champions that they had there. They weren't nobody's paying attention to none of them. DC had just been champ.
Yeah.
He got little bits. Like if you look at the people, like the attention, 75% of it was going to Cyborg, 20% to DC, and 5% between Tyron and Rose. And this is at the ESPN Awards where everybody who's somebody shows up.
End of the day, what this also reflects on, one other person that we've mentioned before, Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes takes a hit here. How does Amanda Nunes take a hit here?
Who's she gonna fight?
Who is her high profile opponent now? And it's the thing that we talk about all the time with Amanda Nunes, like her drawing power. Everybody always likes to question that too. Well, who is she gonna fight now? Who? She's beaten everybody. She's beaten all the former champions. There's nobody else on the horizon. We're not going to see Nunes Shevchenko 3. That's not going to happen. There's nothing else on the horizon that makes sense. You're going to run it back with Holly again?
Stretching. You know I like me some Cat, but that's the only one that can somewhat because she's the last person to beat her. But Cat's not that same lady no more. She's two surgeries and like 20 pounds removed from all that lady.
No.
And people forget she got her nose broke because she damn near got knocked out there.
Right.
She just wanted to fight because she gassed out.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I'm Amanda Nunes, I'm calling Dana White and being like, what the hell, man? You're taking money out of my pocket with this. That's the way I would do it. But that's it. Yeah, we've already gone over too long talking about this. But like the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And leave some comments below. We want to know what you guys think about this. So should Cris Cyborg still be in the UFC? Do you want to still see Nunes versus Cyborg 2? And is the fight even bigger now that it's not an immediate possibility? Let us know. Let us know what you think.